Longtime viewers of this channel will know what I mean when I say the fights on Wednesday night are back. Kinda.
There's gonna be a fight tonight!
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your NXT and WWE Cruiserweight Classic review for July 13th, 2016. This is going to run, if any of you remember when I used to do the combined NXT and SmackDown reviews back in the day, I called it, it was a series, it was called The Fights on Wednesday Night. Then I separated off SmackDown, and then when I realized that they weren't just going to try with SmackDown until the brand extension, I kind of dropped SmackDown from the register. Now, next week, when SmackDown comes back, there will be live SmackDown reviews as much as I possibly can. There is a live stream coming next Tuesday. Set your calendars on the 19th. Myself, Christian Guapo. We are going to talk about a lot of stuff. We are going to talk about the draft. We are going to talk about live SmackDown. We are going to talk about Battleground. We are going to talk a little bit of NXT and the Cruiserweight Classic. We are going to talk about Battleground. We are going to talk about SummerSlam a little bit. We are going to talk about Survivor Series, because I'm a selfish person, and that is all coming up next Tuesday, the 19th at 11 p.m. my time. I'm sorry if you're in a different time zone, you're gonna have to figure it out. I'm roughly near Toronto, so whatever 11 p.m. in Toronto is where you are, I really hope you join. I really hope you join us in the comment section or the chat below, because we have a lot of fun doing that. It's much better than doing the Skype recordings that we used to do. I find this to be a lot more fun. But yeah, set your calendars. Next Tuesday, it's going to be a lot of fun. But this tonight, a great main event on NXT and the first round of the Cruiserweight Classic. We start off NXT with Samoa Joe in the ring. He says, "I'm here just like all of you. I'm here to watch the Bálor versus Nakamura match. This match is an insult to me as a champion, however, because all of you and both of them think that winning this match will get you closer to a title shot." And well, first of all, let's talk about Finn Bálor. I slayed Finn Bálor. I am the undisputed NXT champion. Starts bragging about the cage match, etc. And as far as Nakamura goes, I'm the real one that brought strong style to NXT, not him, and I am the new face of NXT. Anybody else that wants to prove otherwise has to go through me. He gets answered by Rhino. Rhino basically says, "You're the one I have to go through to get to the top," in a very monotone, not very energetic promo, to be perfectly honest. Challenges Samoa Joe, which is great. Joe walks off doing the typical heel, "Yeah, we're gonna fight, but on my time" thing. We get a bunch of announcements out of the way all at once. Bayley versus Nia Jax is going to happen next week, because for some reason they think we still want to see that. American Alpha versus the Authors of Pain is going to happen next week. And Joe versus Rhino, for reasons, is happening next week. Now, there's one match on this show, and it took up about 40 minutes of the show, if my timing is correct. I was watching this on my TiVo, so I don't know what the exact timestamp is, and I don't really care. It took up the majority of the show, and I don't mind that at all. Bálor versus Nakamura. A couple of things I want to really point out here before we go, because this really, and I can't stress this enough, the only reason this happened on a regular episode of NXT is because the draft is next week. Let's be real about that for a second. Any other time, this would have been on a takeover, this would have been on a pay-per-view, this would have... Fuck, 5 years from now, this could be on WrestleMania. It really could. It's an odd thing for me to mention, and it's something we've talked about before, but Finn Bálor and Shinsuke Nakamura have two of the best entrances, both visually and music-wise, in the WWE or NXT right now. Bálor didn't do the demon. I figured Bálor would sort of break the mold a little bit because this is a special match and come out and do the demon thing, but he came out as rockstar douchebag Finn Bálor, which is fine and it's all good. The crowd in the beginning were very partisan towards Shinsuke Nakamura, and I'm talking about the beginning of their entrances, cheering for Shinsuke during Bálor's entrance, cheering for Shinsuke during Shinsuke's entrance. But we go to commercial break before the match even starts, and by the time we come back, they're not on anybody's side. They're just chanting, "This is awesome," which is great. We get the big fight feel production-wise. We get the spotlight. We get the announcement. I mean, they usually do this for title matches only, but they don't announce the guy as he's coming down to the ring. They let him do his entrance, they let the other guy do his entrance, and then they do the spotlight sort of entrance in the ring, and it makes a title match feel different. This, although it's not a title match, I think deserved it. and especially the way they put the house lights down in NXT when they do the spotlight introduction. I thought it was a really, really nice touch. But eventually, and I do say eventually, because fuck, this is a long match, I will say, there's things I missed in this match. My notes for this match are not the best. And if you think that's bad, you should see my notes on the Cruiserweight matches later on. But we start off with a test of strength twice, and Shinsuke works the arm, a headlock, and a takedown by Bálor, and he turns it into a grounded side headlock. Kitchen sink and a snapmare by Shinsuke, both of them trade strikes. These two guys trading strikes should be illegal. It's fucking wonderful. Headlock by Bálor, enziguri by Shinsuke. I'm sorry, I've got a fan going behind me, so my pages are doing this, which makes it very hard when you're trying to read them. Hard Irish whip by Shinsuke and a mudhole stomp. Bálor on the apron. He positions Bálor on the apron, goes to the outside, hits a knee lift to the face, then gets up on the apron and has a knee drop to the back of his skull, which is really, really great. And it's a great way to send us to a commercial break, isn't it? Or, as I always say, the WWE Network NXT equivalent of a commercial break. Knee drop by Shinsuke as we come back. Corner kitchen strikes by Shinsuke and a chop block by Bálor and a modified deathlock to follow it up. From this point on, all Bálor's offense is on the leg, and it's fucking great. Front face lock by Bálor. Well, okay, accept that. Drop kick to the face. Boots and chops in the corner by Bálor, who works the leg. Bálor stomps the knee into the mat. He goes for a surfboard stretch, but he can't. He's got the legs locked, but he can't get the arms. So instead of locking in the surfboard stretch, he just jumps. And the way Shinsuke's legs are grapevined around his legs, setting up for the attempted surfboard stretch, he jumps up and he jumps down. He drives both of Shinsuke's kneecaps into the mat, which is good. Follows it up with a grapevine leg lock. Both men get up. Both men trade punches. A mud hole in the corner by Shinsuke, which is interesting because he's using the good leg only, and you see him sort of selling the other. Knee lift to the gut by Shinsuke and chops by Bálor. Suicide baseball slide by Bálor to the outside and a running punt off the apron, which is fucking gorgeous. Now that Balor's doing it, Orton should stop, because Bálor just does it better. The way he does it, sort of that run along the apron and just kicks you right in the face like it's fucking nothing, is great. Commercial break, comeback. What do we get when we come back from this commercial break? We got Shinsuke standing, but he's kind of hunched over a little bit, and he's got his back to Bálor. So what does Bálor do? Coup de grace to the back of the head. Fucking great. Kitchen sink by Shinsuke and a leg lock by Bálor. Enziguri style knee strike by Shinsuke looked really, really like he punched him with his knee, is what happened there. Head scissor into a triangle choke by Shinsuke. Like, just triangle, like the Hell's Gate, Undertaker style. Really nice. Multiple knee drops by Shinsuke and a front suplex Enziguri and a reverse 1916 by Bálor and a sling blade. I really hate that they gave the 1916 name to the Brainbuster or the Bloody Sunday that Bálor used to do, but I guess we can't have blood, and that's why we can't call it the Hell's Gate and whatever. Drop kick and a Kinshasa by Shinsuke Nakamura, but Bálor kicks out. And at this point, they do a great thing because the match kind of pauses so that the crowd can let it sink in that somebody finally kicked out of the Kinshasa, which is great. And then you get one of the greatest chants I bet two wrestlers could ever hear in their lives. The crowd in NXT in Full Sail start chanting "Fight Forever," which is fucking great. Although it's not going to happen, we know what's going to happen next Tuesday. Roddy rah. Double stomp to the chest by Bálor out of nowhere, and they trade punches. Bálor kicks him in the knee and spin kick, and a sick spin kick by Shinsuke. He takes it to the knee, and it's great. On commentary, Corey Graves has the perfect call. Kicks him in the side of the knee that he's been working on all night. The leg kind of bows to the side a little bit, and Graves on commentary just says that was disgusting, which is perfect. And almost in a tit for tat, Shinsuke says, "You want to take out my legs? Here, have one of my legs." Dirty, disgusting spin kick to Bálor. Sling blade by Bálor and a corner dropkick. Coup de grace misses. Second rope knee strike by Shinsuke Nakamura sets up for the successful Kinshasa. Did I mention the first Kinshasa was to the back of the head? I probably should have mentioned that the first Kinshasa was to the back of the head, shouldn't I? But the proper Kinshasa gets the win for Shinsuke Nakamura. Big, huge, immediately, as soon as the 3 count goes down, big, huge thank you Finn chant from the crowd. The NXT crowd knows what's going to happen next Tuesday. We all know what's going to happen next Tuesday. It's the only reason this match happened here as opposed to at a takeover. NXT is losing Finn Bálor. They're getting the Shinsuke match out of the way. And that's basically what is happening these days. They did the same thing for Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn broke in Shinsuke Nakamura, put him over. Finn Bálor helped put up. Losing my train of thought, helped put up Shinsuke Nakamura even more, put him over again. The only way they have Finn Balor lose this match is if he's going to Raw or SmackDown, and Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be the next legitimate contender for the for Samoa Joe in the NXT Championship. There's no way they're putting the NXT Championship on Rhino, is there? No, no, no. Big respectful end to the match, big hugs, big handshakes. They do the respectful bow and all that sort of thing. They sort of each give each other a chance to have a moment with the crowd, which is nice. You know, Finn Balor kind of handing off the NXT universe to Shinsuke Nakamura, and Shinsuke Nakamura in turn allowing the NXT universe to show their appreciation for Finn Balor. This was a fucking great match. When these guys are both on the main roster, this needs to main event a Big Four pay-per-view. I hesitate to come out right away and say that it should main event WrestleMania, but this main eventing a SummerSlam, Barclays Center in a couple of years, or Toronto, I'm just putting it out there. Can't say enough about this match. This was a one-match show, literally. We had a talking segment that led to a match that I don't really want to see. We had a couple quick announcements for next week, and this entire show was this match. And in some ways, for anybody else, I think I would have minded that, because you want to have at least sort of an undercard, curtain jerker, jobber type of match. You know, throw on somebody shitty like Nia Jax. Just saying. But yeah, this was a one-match show, and I didn't mind it at all. Anybody who didn't see, and I always say this because if you didn't see the show, you wouldn't be watching my review of the show, would you? But anybody that didn't see this show, if you know anybody that didn't see this show, tell them to go back and watch this fucking show. This was a good fucking show. I should say it was a good match, but the match was the show, so that's that. But then we turn over to the Cruiserweight Classic. And oh my god, let me say right off the bat, first of all, there's a lot of purple. Oh yeah, I know that it's you know, Raw is red, SmackDown is blue, NXT is yellow, CWC is purple, but oh my god, there's a lot of purple. I'm just putting that one out there. Start off with an opening package, an open video package. It's all voiced over by Triple H, and he puts over pretty damn hard how special cruiserweights are in the history of wrestling and how they're unique, and some of the history and rah-rah-rah. And, you know, 32 of the superstars from around the world representing 16 countries, which is fucking phenomenal when you think of it, are going to write a new chapter in cruiserweight history. Makes you wonder why they stopped doing the cruiserweight title like forever ago and gave it to Hornswoggle and all that sort of thing. But I like the intro music. It's pretty generic rock-ish, but it's not like the poppy crap that they've recycled through. Like, Raw has had a lot of shitty entrances. I don't like the entrance that Raw has right now, if I'm perfectly honest with you. SmackDown's is okay. NXT's I like. And this tournament apparently came from the mind of Triple H, much like NXT, and it's got a lot of those similar kind of vibes. What I will say, again, very purple, but you've got the CWC ring, and it's different. It doesn't have the typical WWE rounded turnbuckles. It has the wider turnbuckles. The turnbuckles that almost look like folded over pads. They make me think a lot of WCW. They make me think a lot of the turnbuckles that actually the TNA 6-sided ring have, because they've got that wider angle on them. I'm guessing it's because there's a lot of high flyers. It gives them a slightly bigger platform to stand on. That's only my guess. It's got the Cruiserweight Classic logo on there, and they've got it's sponsored by Tap Out, so Tap Out is on there as well. And see, here's the thing that's cool like that too. You might think that I don't like them having an advertised sponsor on the mat, but real sports do that. Like ice rinks have that, and some parquets where they play basketball do that. The Octagon has that. Boxing rings have that. Real sports have sponsors. So as cheesy as this is going to sound, even having the Tap Out logo on there made this seem more legitimate. I like the fact that they've rearranged Full Sail, so it's not the typical NXT entrance. They're entering from the corner in a little small in a sort of a smaller entrance to the one side of where the big main screen is. It gives it sort of a feel of gives it kind of an indie feel, kind of a more intimate feel. If anybody remembers, okay, WWE's reincarnation of ECW was kind of shit, but they had that sort of interesting looking smaller entrance. And I'm not saying the smaller entrance is necessarily better, but it does make it stick out, and the slight changes in the presentation like that make it feel like you're not just, hey, this is what they're doing in the NXT arena. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I know these are little tiny nitpicky things that I'm noticing, but they're cool. And they do make a difference. What else makes a difference? They've got their commentators, Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan. Great on commentary. Mauro Ranallo I've been tooting the praises of since he joined the SmackDown team. Actually, even before that, when he was on Aftermath up here in Canada. But that's another story for another day. I didn't like in the bracketology how Daniel Bryan made everything kind of about him, and I don't mean this in a shitty way. I know Daniel Bryan had his impact on wrestling, but every guy they talked about is like, oh, I fought that guy here, and I fought that guy here, and I fought that guy. And I know it gives some legitimacy to the superstar that they're talking about, but it also makes Daniel Bryan feel like he's talking about himself a lot. JBL, I have the same criticism of JBL, but I guess in some strange way I expected more from Daniel Bryan. I don't know. The way that they had, in a totally separate location, they had Corey Graves taking care of all the bracketology, and you know, he's the statistics guy. First day with my new tongue. Sorry, he's there in the bracketology area, backstage, whatever. The video packages they did on each guy was great. The stats, the tail of the tape, all that sort of thing. Those things were presented really well. It's really good. The way they presented everything felt like a more real sports environment. The way they came to the ring, and they're not announced until they get to the ring, and the referee coming to the center giving them their instructions like you would see in a boxing match or an MMA match. The fact that when there's a victory at the end, they bring both guys back into the middle of the ring, referee raises the one guy's hand, more like a real sport. I'm harping on this because the presentation of this, yeah, it's polished and it's got the WWE feel to a certain extent, but you know, weighing heavily on like what countries these guys are from. These guys are proud to represent their whatever. Some of them have family connections that we'll get into momentarily. Just such a real feeling show, and if this is the thing going forward, I think we're in for a lot of fun. Anyways, the first match is Grand Metalik. Okay. The one thing I do have to say before I get started, and this is where I need to be able to laugh at myself, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of some of these people's names. I'm going to apologize for that in advance. So every other CWC video I do after this, I'm going to divert you back to 17 minutes and 19 seconds into this video, where I apologize in advance for all the names that I'm going to mispronounce. It's Grand Metalik versus Alejandro Spaz. It looks like Says because it's S-A-E-S, but even the commentators were calling him Size. Like, what's the size of your whatever? The handshake at the beginning is also really cool. Daniel Bryan talking about the handshake and how important that kind of respect is. Rah-de-rah-de-rah. I know I don't watch Ring of Honor, but I know that they do the handshake, the code of honor thing. I don't know what the entire story is, but that, if somebody wants to let me know down in the box below, that would be great. But it's cool because it became a focus for the rest of the night, and it sets the tone for the match. They have a handshake, collar and elbow tie-up, and Says works the arm. Says clubs the back and rides a side headlock. They focus a lot on this guy's inexperience. He's from Chile, I think, where there's no pro wrestling apparently, and he is the only pro wrestler from Chile or whatever, whereas Grand Metalik comes from a country where that is well known for wrestling. He's, you know, Daniel Bryan at one point says this guy's probably got like 10 matches a week, and Says probably can't find a match once a month. I don't think he was saying that as a dig. I think he was saying it as the opportunities available, making Says feel like the underdog, etc. Low drop kick by Says and stomps and kicks. Springboard drop kick by Says and some chops. Super kick by Metalik and a suicide tope. I knew I was going to pronounce that as tope. Metalik walks the rope and then turns it into a springboard splash, which is nice. Says hits a roundhouse kick. Metalik off the top Says roundhouse kicks Metalik off the apron. Shooting star press off the apron by Says is fucking pretty. One of the first highlights of the night, and they replay it a lot of times. Twisting senton by Says misses. Corner clothesline by Metalik and a dirty, disgusting looking Samoan driver, and I mean disgusting in the best way possible. Twisted him up like a fucking pretzel and dropped him on the back of his head. Got the win for Metalik. Now, I look at Metalik, and I'm kind of cynical in this way. This guy could push merchandise for the WWE. Says, I don't know if he could or not. Not saying that that's why he should have won, but I kind of had a feeling with a lot of the hype that was going into Grand Metalik and what I heard before this started that he was going to go far. I don't know that he's going to win because there's a lot of other guys throughout this tournament that have a big indie following from, you know, me keeping my ear to the ground on Twitter and YouTube, etc. But the guy made a good showing of himself. This is the cool thing about this for me. I don't watch a lot of indie stuff. I don't watch people I don't know. That's a very WWE fan mentality, but it's the honest to God truth, and I don't have the time to seek it out. WWE is readily available and it's familiar to me. That is why I watch WWE. I gave TNA a shot and it went into the toilet. Oh yes. Wyatt Compound is better than the Final Deletion, and that's coming from a Jeff Hardy fan. Putting that one out there. Next was Ho Ho Lun versus Arya Daivari. Ho Ho Lun apparently has a big following in China? China? Yes, China? Alright. Arya Daivari is related to the other Daivari, Khosrow Daivari, I think was his name, who managed Muhammad Hassan, who WWE now pretend didn't exist, the Great Khali, and Kurt Angle for a short time. And they mention all of this on commentary, and it's fucking great. There's no handshake because Daivari's a dick, because it's WWE and Daivari's a foreigner, and yeah. Collar and elbow tie-up and a side headlock by Daivari, shoulder tackle by Daivari, and a drop kick by Lun, corner forearm by Lun, a drop kick to the back and head by Lun. This is where my writing gets super shitty. This is why I shouldn't be taking notes on cruiserweight matches. Drop kick to the back and head by Lun. Clubs and kicks by Lun and a neckbreaker by Daivari. Lun eats the turnbuckle, mudhole stomps by Daivari. Running high knee by Daivari and straight jabs. Knee to the back by Daivari, and he rides a headlock. He rides a headlock for a long time, which seems even longer in a cruiserweight match, which you expect to be fast-paced, which is a cool little thing if they're building him as a heel in the tournament, which is kind of pointless, as we'll talk about in a moment. Kitchen sink by Daivari, a spin kick, and starts paintbrushing the kid in the face. Oh yes. Leg lariat by Lun, back elbow and a missile dropkick. Discus forearm by Daivari and a frog splash. Misses. Knee to the head by Lun, a super kick, and a beautiful back suplex with a bridge gets the win for Ho Ho Lun. So far we have Grand Metalik and Ho Ho Lun going forward into the tournament rather. Going from the original 32 to the Sweet 16, I think they called it. I think it's like the Sweet 16 and then the Grade 8 and the Final 4 and, you know, the final. I'm Canadian. I should be able to pronounce a French name, right? Clement Petois and Cedric Alexander is your third match of the night. Now, I'm going to be calling them Clement and Cedric because those are the names that I'm sure I know how to pronounce, and I don't want to write Alexander because I'll get a cramp, because it's a longer name. This is the thing. If you ever hear me talk about when I take my notes, and some people I call by the first name, some people I call by the last name, I write down whatever's shorter because literally that makes note-taking easier. Again, it's probably really lame of me, but I don't care. I'm honest with you guys. Love me or hate me for that. But Clement and Cedric, they have they don't have a friendly handshake. They don't ignore the handshake. They got one of those sort of tough, you know, handshake, and you pull it in and you're in each other's face. It's fucking great. It's the different dynamics, the different setups of the different matches. It's cool. Front slam by Clement and a hammerlock by Cedric. A hammerlock by Clement and a trip by Cedric. Rolling arm drags by Cedric. Pele reverse Rana by Cedric is fucking nice. Dropkick, knee lift by Clement, corner spears in a kitchen sink, snap vertical suplex by Clement, Cedric eats turnbuckle, gut wrench suplex by Clement, and a side headlock. And the commentators talk about, you know, Clement being a ground-based guy, and he says in his preview video, whatever, I'm not a jumper, I'm not one of these high flyers, I'm not going to do a 450, but I'm one of the biggest guys here, so they better be fast if they're going to avoid my power, all that sort of thing. Instigurated the back of the head and a shoulder tackle by Clement. Both men trade blows. Hangman by Cedric. Springboard clothesline by Cedric and a corner splash twice. Discus clothesline by Clement. And then the lumbar check by Cedric Alexander. The lumbar check is basically, from the best way for me to explain it, is if you picture Darren Young. Yeah, I know, nobody wants to picture Darren Young, but he's got that retarded move, the gut check, where he basically throws his opponent up in the air and then falls on his own back. And the guy gets a gutbuster across the knees. This was that, but to the spine, and much more effective looking, and this guy, Alexander, is fun to watch in the ring. That's the other thing I will say. Ho Ho Lun just as amazing as he was in the ring, just looks like a guy that's happy to be there a little bit, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's not engaging. Grand Metalik has that mystical luchador masked guy. There's a little bit of intrigue there factor. Cedric Alexander in this match, flat out fun to watch. A lot more fun than Darren Young. Anyways, that's the last time you're going to hear me talk about Darren Young in this preview, because this shit is so much better than Darren Young. Or his boyfriend. Anyways, Sean Maluta versus Kota Ibushi. Sean Maluta, obviously coming from the Great Samoan heritage. They talk about, you know, Alpha, Sika, the Usos, The Rock, Roman Reigns, which I think is really funny because Roman Reigns is suspended, but yeah. And then Kota Ibushi, who, as I understand it, is just an indie darling, and an indie darling in Japan. Like, I mean, just in a great, like, just a friggin' huge guy if you watch stuff other than WWE. But again, I really don't. So I'm going on everybody else's word. The guy was fucking sick in this match, I'm not gonna lie. Daniel Bryan commentary in this match, keeping his, like, he's apparently recently had neck surgery, talking about how the 14-hour flight over must have been terrible, the jet lag must have been terrible, all the impact of everything that he's done since he got here, everything's affected the neck. Daniel Bryan, being a guy that retired because of his neck injury, was the guy to build this up in the commentary, and it was great, and it was really good the way he just, this is okay, to counteract what I said earlier, Daniel Bryan didn't make the commentary about himself too much. This is where Daniel Bryan can pull from being Daniel Bryan, from that experience. This is where he makes a contribution to the match by talking about himself, if that makes sense. I'm giving Daniel Bryan a lot of credit here because I was really, really concerned that WWE was going to make this thing about Daniel Bryan a little bit when they put him on commentary, or they were just putting him on commentary because everybody misses him, which would have been a bad move. But so far, Daniel Bryan's impressing me a lot. Anyways, Sean Maluta versus Kota Ibushi. They get a proper friendly handshake. Kota starts with kicks and works the arm, tripping a face lock by Maluta, side headlock and a shoulder tackle. Hard kick in the chest by Kota while Daniel Bryan plays up this guy's striking ability because he's faced him in the ring. Rah. Maluta misses a splash. Springboard dropkick by Kota and a back elbow by Maluta. Exploder suplex by Kota is pretty. Codebreaker off the top. Codebreaker. Okay, I'm not going to say that in a mundane tone. I'm going to say Maluta, the bigger guy in the match, the big tough. He's got that. I don't want to be racist or anything like that, but he's got that big, sort of overwhelming Samoan presence to him. So out of the two of them, I didn't picture him as the guy that was going to be to the top that much. He whipped off a codebreaker from the top rope. Fucking great. Suicide somersault by Maluta to the outside and a seated abdominal stretch once they get back in the ring. A running boot neckbreaker combination by Maluta and a sternum kick by Maluta that friggin' just seems like it would just cut you in half. Is the truth. Drop kick by Kota. Crazy strikes and a standing moonsault by Kota. Ibushi Pele kicks Maluta off the top fucking rope, and it was sick. Moonsault to the outside by Kota. Sabat kick by Maluta, which is apparently like his big thing in the indies. But of course Kota Ibushi taps out. Roundhouse by Kota. And let me just say this in big capital letters. A huge fucking powerbomb wins the match for Kota Ibushi. They kept on referring to it as the last ride. I don't know whether that's what he calls it in the indies or whether they're trying to draw a direct parallel between him and the Undertaker. But the snap in this powerbomb was something that a guy the size and the age of the Undertaker would not be able to achieve. So I didn't like it. As somebody watching it for the first time, it felt to me like they were trying to draw a similarity to somebody we all know in the Undertaker. If that's what he legitimately calls it in his own wrestling career, then I will take that statement back fully. The powerbomb looked like he drove the guy through the fucking mat. This match was great. I'm glad it went on last. All the things that people have been telling me about Kota Ibushi, from what I can tell in this match so far, have been true. And the match was great. And I'm glad it was the main event. This is fucking wonderful. And I have to, you know, I've been spending so much of this video talking about Daniel Bryan not making the Cruiserweight Classic about him. I'm going to make this about me for a second. One thing that a lot of you guys know that have been watching me for a long time, from the beginning, I've always been a proponent of cruiserweight wrestling, light heavyweight wrestling, X Division wrestling, whatever you want to call it. I've never understood why they got rid of it, especially when you have so many people. I did it. For years, I did a yearly thing on this channel, the Great Cruiserweight Debate, where all I did was point out, hey, WWE, you have this many people who fall into the cruiserweight category. This could be a fucking fantastic cruiserweight division. Why aren't you doing it? I do it every year. I did it every year. Anyway, somebody asked me why I didn't do it this year, and it was because this was coming up. It's one of the things that actually I started watching WCW really late, but one of the things I did tune in for was the cruiserweights when WWE inaugurated its light heavyweight division, and when you had guys like Taka Michinoku and Brian Christopher before he became part of Too Cool and Ultimo Dragon and people like that, when they merged it with the WCW Cruiserweight title and then just decided to keep the Cruiserweight title because the Cruiserweight title was a lot more recognized than WWE's Light Heavyweight title was. When they got rid of it, when I went over to TNA, I followed one of my favorite wrestlers, you guys know. I followed Jeff Hardy to TNA. One of the things that kept me watching TNA was the X Division. But if you really, really, really want to know how long I've been waiting for something like this, go back to my very first video on this channel. It is a review of SummerSlam 2010, and it wasn't even the greatest example, but one of the first things I ever reviewed on this channel was the opening match of SummerSlam 2010, which is Kofi Kingston versus somebody. And the first thing I said about the match was, this is the perfect example of why we need a cruiserweight division. So, SummerSlam 2010. We've got SummerSlam 2016 coming up here. So I have been saying on this channel for 6 years that cruiserweight presence needs to come back to the WWE. So I don't care how sappy this sounds. The fact that this thing is going on is very special to me personally as a wrestling fan. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people involved, but I know Triple H is really at the helm of this, like he's at the helm of NXT. And genuinely, no matter what you want to say about Triple H, my hat is off to him for what he's created here. And like I say, genuinely, and without trying to be super sappy, I think this is going to be really, really special. Anyways, tell me what you think. I hope you guys are as excited about it as I am. And yeah, it looks like we got another couple of weeks that Wednesday's kind of going to be a double bill here on this channel. Anyways, that's about it for me. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.